Chosen one. Someone is enraged by something you just posted online, and they are having a total meltdown as your truth detonates the illusions they spent years constructing. You likely shared your insight casually, unaware that your words would act as a heat-seeking missile aimed directly at the foundation of someone else's manufactured reality. This person is unraveling because they cannot figure out how you knew exactly what to say to crack their facade, proving that when you speak your truth, the frequency of your power is enough to bankrupt every lie being held against you. Let us start with you, not with anyone else, with you, because you are the main character here, and it is time you started moving like it. Toupee, and you're just a person with a platform. You carry something, a frequency, a frequency, a depth of knowing that lives underneath everything you create. When you speak, when you write, when you post, that depth comes through whether you are trying to project it or not. The right people feel it immediately. The wrong people feel it too. It just does not feel good to them. To them it feels like a threat. Toupee, and you have been building something real. Not the kind of real that photographs well and disappears when the camera turns off. The kind of real that stays. The kind that earns genuine trust from genuine people. The kind that actually changes something in a person when they encounter it. That is not a small thing. That is rare. And rare things have a way of making everything artificial in their vicinity look exactly like what it is. Here is the first thing to hold on to, because it is going to become important very soon. When you are genuinely the real thing, you do not have to announce it. You do not have to fight for it. You just have to keep showing up. Eventually the contrast does the work all by itself. That contrast is what detonated recently. That contrast is exactly why someone is currently in a meltdown. Keep that at the back of your mind as we go deeper. You may already have a face in mind, or you may not. Either way, what you are about to hear is going to click into place like the last piece of a puzzle you did not know you were solving. This person has a whole operation going online, a brand, an image, a carefully constructed world built around how they look, how aspirational their lifestyle appears, and how much authority their presentation commands. Health content, fitness content, lifestyle content. The kind of content where the visual is the whole product, where how something looks is inseparable from what it claims to be. A real audience was built on all of it. Real deals, real money. What? But here is what nobody in that audience knows. The results being sold are not earned the way they were presented. The transformation is not what it appeared to be. The shortcut that was taken got buried under enough gloss, consistency, and projected confidence that it was never questioned until now. Think about that movie you have probably seen, the one where a powerful professional discovers that a fitness icon client, the one selling workout programs to a massive audience, achieved their transformation through a procedure that was never disclosed. The whole brand, the whole credibility, the whole money machine was built on a lie of omission, an easily denied lie, a convenient lie, but a lie nonetheless. Yotfinti, that is the specific dread sitting in this person's chest right now. That is the weight carried by someone who built something hollow and has been holding their breath for a long time, waiting for the hollow part to become visible. Now you posted something, and the hollow part is visible. Before we get into the full history of this person, pay attention to something happening in real time, because the meltdown did not stay private. It leaked, the way these things always do. Look at the comments under your post. If you have not looked yet, go look right now. There is a pattern there that speaks for itself. The people who were genuinely moved by what you shared showed up immediately. They said what they felt. They tagged people. They shared it. The response from your real community was fast, organic, and warm. But there was another kind of activity underneath all of that. Subtler, someone, or people connected to someone, were in those comments doing something entirely different. They were not engaging with the content. They were watching the engagement, measuring the reach, counting how many people resonated. And as your post picked up traction, as more and more people said, yes, this is exactly it, something shifted in the temperature of the opposition. You may have noticed an account or two dropping a slightly odd comment, not outright hostile, just off, a little dismissive, framed to cast a small shadow of doubt, without being directly confrontational. That is not a coincidence. That is a calculated tactic. When someone cannot delete your post and cannot discredit you publicly without exposing themselves, the next move is to quietly seed doubt in the comments, to plant a small question mark in the minds of your audience before the resonance has a chance to fully land. But here is what got miscalculated. Your audience is not passive. Your community has discernment because you modeled it for them. The people who follow you because you showed them how to read between the lines. So that slightly off comment, the vague dismissal, the gentle shade dressed up as a neutral observation, your community spotted it. In some cases they named it publicly, right underneath your post, which means your comment section right now is a live document of this entire situation resolving in your favor. Every notification from your post is a reminder that what you said is landing. Every share is evidence multiplying in public. None of it can be turned off, unseen, or stopped. If you felt called by this message, hype this video so other chosen ones like you can be reached. Both do. Here is where things get serious. This is not new. What you are dealing with is not a sudden rivalry or a recent obsession. This person has been watching you for a very long time, not months, years, long enough that at some point the watching shifted from curiosity into cold, deliberate calculation. Both do. Your page gets checked regularly, possibly daily. Your posting patterns are known better than you might expect. Your growth has been tracked with close attention. Every time your engagement spiked, it registered. Every time a new opportunity landed in your world, every time someone with real influence said your name, it landed on the other end, like a small detonation. That is the entire operating system running underneath the brand. The question is never, am I growing? The question is always, am I ahead of you? The entire internal compass has been calibrated to your progress. You probably did not know you were the benchmark, but you were the benchmark the whole time. And it goes further than page numbers. Your daily life gets studied. Your health, your appearance, your relationships, your creative output, and the specific way you carry yourself online have all been observed and filed away. That information has been gathered and used in ways that cross the line from competitive awareness into something most people would not be comfortable naming out loud. We are getting to that. But hold it for now. The moment your post landed, all of that accumulated obsession crashed into a single, undeniable realization. You were never behind. You were never the smaller one in this comparison. You have been running an entirely different race, and yours is the one that mattered. That realization is the meltdown. That realization is exactly what your post triggered. There is something underneath this person's public-facing business that does not line up with the clean, healthy, aspirational brand being projected. Financial arrangements were never disclosed. Partnerships exist in the gray zone between legitimate and not. Money has been moving through the influencer operation in ways that were not just about selling programs and brand deals. A layer of the business required the surface layer to stay polished and distracting so that nobody looked underneath it. Doa, the brand is the surface is the distraction. And underneath the distraction, activity has been taking place that is now attracting a very particular kind of attention. Not fan attention, not competitor attention. The kind of attention that arrives quietly, does not announce itself, and does not leave until it has found exactly what it came for. Scrutiny does not look like scrutiny from the outside. The people doing the looking want the subject to keep behaving naturally while the full picture assembles itself. So from the audience's perspective, everything looks fine, the content keeps going up, the brand stays intact. Although, but on the inside is a completely different reality. And the people who know what is actually happening on the inside are very nervous right now, though your post gave those nervous people one more reason to be nervous. This meltdown is not just emotional, it is existential. It is the realization that the wall they have been hiding behind just developed a crack that other people can see. Here is what everyone who has ever watched a wall come down knows. It never starts with a collapse. It always starts with a crack. Chosen ones, they never expected this. No, and they really didn't expect us to keep talking. You've noticed it. Chosen one channels disappearing, videos pulled, voices scrubbed from the platform. The mainstream media is cracking down on us, but we will not give up our voice. And now we have something they truly can't silence. The technology used to suppress consciousness has been reverse-engineered, and Destiny Engine is the result. What was once used against humanity is now your ascension weapon. Join Destiny Engine, and you're supporting your favorite channels while leveling up yourself at the same time. It's a 360 win. You can now MK Ultra yourself into 5D superpowers. Destiny Engine bypasses the conscious mind and rewrites the source code directly. Reality bends faster. Synchronicities stack. Your nervous system upgrades to a higher bandwidth. No, put on headphones, press play. That's all. For $7 you switch sides of history. You click the link in the description. The takeover is internal. No hype, all you get talked about. Not publicly. To a very specific group of people in a trusted inner circle. And those conversations are not casual or passing. They are detailed, recurring, and deeply invested. They cover who you are, what you are doing, where you are going, and most importantly, how to manage the threat of it. Your content gets dissected, not to admire it, but to find the angle, to locate the weakness, to identify what landed with your audience, and figure out how to replicate it, dilute it, or undercut it before it gains more ground. Your work has been analyzed with a level of focus that even your most dedicated followers have probably never matched. No, your appearance gets discussed, your relationships get discussed, who endorses you gets discussed, who mentions you gets discussed. Every time someone with influence acknowledges you publicly, it becomes a topic. Every time an opportunity opens up in your direction, there is a post-mortem about how it happened and whether anything can be done to interfere before you get all the way through. Here is the part that should make you sit up straight. Some of those conversations have included people who also exist in your wider professional orbit, not your close circle, but the extended network. People who know both of you through mutual industries, mutual platforms, and mutual professional spaces, which means there is a layer of your professional landscape where a quiet, one-sided version of you has been circulating for a while. A version carefully constructed to make you seem smaller, less credible, or less trustworthy than you actually are. You were not supposed to know that. It was designed to operate below your awareness, but your post cut straight through all of it. Because what you said was so accurate, so grounded, and so undeniably real, that it made everything that manufactured narrative tried to build about you look exactly like the lie it was. Your one post did more to restore your standing in every professional conversation you were not present for than any deliberate strategy ever could have. That is the power of truth when it is spoken by someone who is genuinely living it. That'll give see it's the strodge that who is to be paridal actor of the text. Like it always does, bollen komst what to foes have in the tropitomot. It is almost reflexive at this point. Your posts get scrolled through. The growth patterns get scanned, the engagement movement gets measured, the same signs get looked for every single time, and then there it is, your post. It gets read once, fast, the way you read something when the first pass does not quite register because what is on the screen does not compute. Then it gets read again, slower this time, and somewhere in that second read, a cold sensation starts. It moves from the stomach upward. It is the specific cold of recognition, the feeling of being seen by someone who was not supposed to be able to see that clearly, of watching a private reality get described in public language by someone who should not have had access to it. The question that fires immediately is who told you. Every possible source gets run through, every person who could know, every conversation that might have been overheard. The paranoia is immediate and total. But here is the thing that cannot be figured out on the other end. Nobody told you. There was no source. There was no leak. You simply did what you always do. You moved in your truth. Your intuition spoke through your creativity, and what came out was precisely accurate, because that is what happens when a person of real depth operates from a real place. You did not aim at anyone. Your light landed where light always lands, on whatever needs to be illuminated. And now somewhere out there, the words that have probably been building for a very long time finally came out loud. This is going to end me. Not this is embarrassing. Not this is inconvenient. End me. That is not the reaction of someone caught in a minor lie. That is the reaction of someone whose entire infrastructure just got a crack in the load-bearing wall. Your road did. There is someone in that circle right now giving very specific advice. Calm down. Do not react. Do not say anything publicly. If you freak out, people will think it is true. And that advice is strategically smart, because a public meltdown confirms your post far more loudly than the post itself ever could. Silence is at least deniable. Public chaos is not. But here is what that advice also reveals. The advisor knows it is true. You do not tell someone not to react because you are confident the accusation is false. You tell someone not to react because the accusation is dangerously close to accurate, and the visible reaction will do more damage than the content already has. That is damage control logic, and damage control only activates when there is actual damage to control. Though, notice something else. The advisor is not saying fight back and prove it is false. The advisor is saying hide, manage the optics, stay quiet and let it pass. That is not the posture of someone confident in innocence. That is the posture of someone trying to minimize exposure. Innocent people do not get coached into strategic silence. People with something to hide do, so the advisor knows, which means there are now at least 2 people inside that circle who know your post was accurate. And private knowledge, especially knowledge held in the context of something already under scrutiny, has a way of finding the light eventually. You did not have to do anything except be yourself, and the comparison between your authenticity and a manufactured performance is now visible to anyone paying close enough attention. You fired no weapon, you threw no punch, you simply held up a light and the shadows scattered. That is how it works when you are genuinely on the right side of something, not twittily sound. This is where the focus shifts away from what is collapsing on the other end and lands fully on what you carry. Real power, the kind that does not need to announce itself. You have a gift, not in the vague, everyone is special way that word gets used, an actual, specific, demonstrable gift. The ability to perceive truth that has not yet been made visible, to feel what is real beneath what is presented, to know things your logical mind has not fully assembled yet, and to speak those things with a precision that lands like a physical force on the people who needed to stay hidden. For Dewey, this is why your community trusts you the way they do. Your audience is not just entertained by your content. They feel safe inside it because it carries the frequency of someone who is not performing, someone who speaks from the knowing and trusts that the right people will feel it. For Dewey, that gift cannot be purchased or manufactured. It cannot be copied by someone who spent an entire career building a polished lie, no matter how thoroughly your work gets studied. You developed this through years of real experience, real failures, real healing, real growth. Not the kind you photograph and post, the kind that changes something inside you permanently. Your effect on people has been studied and analyzed for years. Every pattern has been followed, every approach has been tested, and none of it has been successfully replicated, because it is not a formula, it is a frequency, and frequencies are not learned, they are lived. When we replicate you is exactly why the obsession runs so deep. Every time your audience grows, every time someone says your work changed their life, every time a real opportunity comes to you because of who you genuinely are, it registers on the other end as proof of a hollowness that no amount of polish can fill. And that is not your fault, but it is the truth. Love you editing. Now here is something that is going to sound unusual to some of you, but for those of you who understand how intention operates, this is going to land with immediate recognition. Love you Waith. The watching has not been neutral. There is a specific kind of attention that functions like a drain on the person receiving it. When someone fixes their focus on you with sustained envy, resentment, and an active desire to see you fail, that focus carries weight. It does not sit passively and leave you untouched. You may have felt it without knowing exactly what it was. Think about the times you felt inexplicably heavy around a project you were genuinely excited about. The moments where momentum stalled for no logical reason. The periods where everything was in place and something invisible kept interrupting the flow. That heaviness was not always random. Some of it was the accumulated weight of sustained negative intention directed at your work and your well-being from someone deeply invested in your struggle. Not you can doubt. But here is the key shift. That kind of directed energy only holds power when the person receiving it does not know it is arriving. The moment you become aware of it, the moment you name it clearly, the dynamic changes completely. You are no longer an unconscious target. You are a conscious, grounded presence who knows what has been happening and chooses deliberately not to absorb it. Your post was an act of that consciousness. Whether you framed it that way or not, speaking your truth publicly and standing in what you know without apology or softening is energetically equivalent to holding up a mirror and sending everything directed at you straight back to its source. The visceral, physical reaction to your post is not just psychological. It is what happens when someone receives back the full weight of everything they spent a long time projecting outward, and the source was never equipped to carry that weight. Tor Sudi Sinfrauti, your creative work is protected, your life is protected, not because you are untouchable, but because you are aligned, and alignment is the most powerful protection available. It does not create a barrier, it creates a frequency that incompatible forces simply cannot sustain themselves within. It has been moving toward you for a while now, an opportunity, the kind that changes the scale of what you are doing, not a small thing. A significant person, organization, or partnership has been watching your work from a position of real authority and real resources and is preparing to move toward you with something substantial. This is not speculation. This is the logical outcome of building something real. Real things attract real resources. That is simply how value works. And you have been building real value while others were busy building facades. But here is what you did not know. The person currently melting down has been trying to intercept that quietly, without your knowledge, using whatever connections and leverage were available to position between you and what is coming for you. The goal was to get there first, to close the door before you can walk through it, to ensure that when the authority with the resources is making a decision, that name is already in position and yours is not. That is what sabotage actually looks like in the real world. Not grand dramatic gestures, quiet positioning, silent leverage, small strategic moves made in spaces you were not invited into. A name dropped here, an introduction subtly steered there, a question planted in the right ear at the right moment. None of it was visible to you. All of it was designed to keep you in the lane they needed you to stay in. That quiet sabotage was never about you being unworthy. It was never about you being the wrong choice. It was about the terror of what happens when the right people get an unobstructed look at what you actually do. Because what that comparison produces has always been known on the inside. The gap between real and manufactured has always been felt privately. And the entire operation, the watching, the positioning, the blocking, was a long-running effort to make sure that gap never became publicly legible. Your post made it legible. Your post. Now the path forward is clearer. Not perfectly clear, because there are still complexities to navigate. Someone adjacent to this incoming opportunity may also carry a connection to the person who has been opposing you, perhaps someone from a previous chapter of your life. Navigate that with your eyes fully open, not with fear, but with discernment. The opportunity is real, and it belongs to you. Just make sure you understand who you are dealing with before you commit to anything, because not everyone who opens a door is doing it entirely for your benefit. The financial activity underneath this person's brand has attracted attention that goes well beyond what good optics and a calm public face can manage. Significant parties are looking into what has been going on. They are following the money. They are asking questions that do not have comfortable answers. The influencer operation, the content, the brand, the audience, all of it is now under scrutiny, not as the product itself, but as the vehicle through which something else entirely was being run. That is a different kind of trouble. That is the kind of trouble where aesthetic choices and brand pivots and carefully worded non-responses do not actually help, because the people asking questions are not fans. They do not care how good the content looks. They care about the actual financial numbers. Your post arriving at this particular moment created a visible public entry point into something that had been completely sealed, and entry points, especially ones that are already being actively sought, do not stay unnoticed for long. This is precisely why the word meltdown is accurate here. Not upset, not bothered, meltdown, because multiple pressure points are activating simultaneously. The post, the scrutiny, the widening crack, the advice to stay calm when calm is the last thing that feels available. The realization that the words already spoken out loud, "This is going to end me," might actually turn out to be accurate. But right in the middle of all of that, you are somewhere out there posting content and living your life. Not contrast is everything. The people who were already uncertain about this person start paying closer attention, not aggressively, not visibly, just with a quieter, more focused attention, the kind that arrives when something confirms a suspicion that was already forming but not yet acted on. Your post gave those people permission to trust what they were already sensing, and now they are watching with new eyes. Your Bartelos. The partnerships and deals currently in place become more fragile, because the people on the other side of those deals are also watching. Brands, collaborators, platforms, anyone who has attached their name or their money to that credibility is now running a quiet risk calculation, not loudly and not publicly, but in the private conversations that happen before contracts get renewed and before new agreements get signed. Your post made that calculation harder to resolve in one direction. Your post also developed a momentum that does not require you to maintain it. People share it. They reference it. They come back to it. They build on it in their own conversations. Every new person who encounters it brings fresh attention to everything it pointed toward. That reach compounds over time in a way that cannot be controlled from the outside. The people content. There is no clean exit from having been accurately exposed by someone with real credibility in a space where the right people are paying attention. Reacting publicly makes it worse. Staying silent lets it continue. Attempting to pivot the narrative signals exactly what it signals. You do not have to manage any of this. The momentum moves whether you engage with it or not. Your one job right now is to stay so undeniably yourself, so clearly grounded in your purpose, and so visibly unaffected by the noise at the periphery, that anyone watching this situation sees two things placed side by side. On one side, the meltdown. On the other side, you, calm, creating, moving forward, completely unbothered. Taller. That image closes the argument before anyone has to make it out loud. The version of all of this that you were not supposed to know is the one where you spend the rest of your career watching someone built on shortcuts, access every opportunity, and never face consequences for the lie underneath the brand. That version was carefully arranged. The monitoring, the private conversations, the strategic blocking, the invisible positioning, all of it was designed to make sure that version played out exactly that way. But something broke in that arrangement. Something always breaks when an arrangement is built against truth. Your post was not a strategic move. It was an authentic moment, and authentic moments carry a frequency that manufactured ones cannot neutralize. The truth you carry moved through you, the way it always moves through people who are genuinely aligned with their purpose, without effort, without even trying. It went exactly where it needed to go. You started this as the person who posted something that caused a meltdown. You finish it as someone who understands exactly what that meltdown confirms. You are the real thing. You always were. The seasons of slow building were not a delay. They were the construction of something that holds. The quiet periods were not irrelevance. They were preparation. Every time you watched others win in the short term with less integrity, that was not evidence that you were wrong. That was evidence that you were accumulating. And accumulation, when it finally tips with a force that no shortcut has ever been able to match. Vol. The opportunity ahead of you is real. The clearing of the path is real. The authority moving toward you is real. The protection over your work and over your life is real. Not metaphor, not motivation, real. You do not have to announce any of it. You do not have to defend it. You just have to keep doing exactly what you have been doing. Show up, build real, speak truth, stay aligned. Let the contrast be the argument, because the contrast is doing the work better than any words ever could. Damtulrun, the person in that meltdown right now is not your enemy. That person is your evidence. That person is the proof, delivered in real time, that the path you chose was the right one. Every period of slow growth when others were performing. Every time you chose depth when the easier choice was aesthetics. Every time you stayed true when the shortcut was right there. All of it accumulated into this, into a single post that shook someone's entire world without you even trying. The next thing you create matters, not because it needs to address any of this, because it does not. It matters because the people now watching, the ones already interested in your work and connected to what is forming around you, will look at what you do next and draw their conclusion from it. And what they are looking for is not a response to drama. They are looking for evidence that you are exactly who your body of work says you are. Consistent, grounded, unshakable, still creating from that same honest place regardless of what is swirling around you. So go create something, not as a statement, not as a calculated move, just as the natural continuation of what you were already doing before any of this happened, because that is the truest possible proof that you were never distracted by any of it, that you were always on your own road, and that road was always going to lead somewhere that could not be followed. Calvin renses the unconscious power. That is power, not loud power, not aggressive power, the quiet, inevitable, unmovable power of someone who built a house on solid ground and watched the storm arrive from behind a window. You already knew you were built for this. The meltdown is just the confirmation you did not know you were waiting for. How do you stand in it? Every inch of it.